G'day, I'm Sean Bowes from Bowes Fitness Marathon and Half Marathon programs. Today I'm going to show you 5 key technical points that will help you run faster in the marathon or half marathon without actually training much harder. They're just technical points that are going to make you more efficient and faster across the ground and produce less fatigue and injury. So it's a win-win scenario. Let's get into it. Now, there's 5 key technical points to making you run more efficiently. Number 1 is using 180 strides per minute, which is sort of variable. It can go between 180 and 200, but that's the recommended number of strides you should be taking per minute. Number 2 is the knee lift. When we're running, we lift our knees towards the front. Number 3 is what I call the dig, which is where the foot reaches its forwardmost point and then you dig it back towards your body to hopefully land under your center of gravity. Number 4 is the strike. That's when your foot hits the ground, how it strikes, what area of the foot strikes, what angle it should strike on. Number 5 is the tail whip or recovery, when the leg is moving from its farthest point backwards and moving back forwards to lift through the knee and strike the ground again. So the cycle continues. First, we'll start with stride rate, and remember we want that 180 strides per minute or thereabouts. I'm coaching the gentleman at the front of this crew in the dark blue uniform. His name's Tom. And we're going to count his strides by counting every time his right foot strikes the ground that's closest to camera, which will then double. And in this case, we'll then times that number by 4. You'll have to believe me that this is a slow motion piece of a 15-second clip. I initially had a stopwatch up in the top corner, but the program I was using I got it wrong and I can't really replicate it again. So we'll just say that 0 is 0 and the last step is the 15-second mark. So let's start off. That's 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, and that's where he finishes. So 46 times 4 is obviously 184. So I'm really happy with that. His stride rate is perfect. So number 2 is the knee lift up to the front of the stride, and we want that to be to a decent level just so we can drive back from there. And I've chosen squares to represent this just so I can get a more of a level line, and we're going to run that through the runner's hips and then draw a line down the angle of their femur. Then we'll compare the angle that makes with the top of the box. So we've got Woo at the back here. So you can see he's got quite a good knee lift and it makes quite a tight angle. Now comparing that to Tom on the right hand side, you can see that angle is opening up to be quite a bit larger, which means he's not lifting as high as Woo there on the left. If I can just shade in that angle, you can see Woo's angle is much sharper than Tom's over on the right hand side. There it is there. Moreover, I just get the feeling you can see Tom is leaning quite a way forward, has his chest out and his bum back, whereas Wu is up much straighter. So there's Tom on the angle there, pushing like he's almost like he's driving himself forward, whereas Wu is rolling as he's supposed to do with his body weight directly over where his feet are landing. There's Tom again, leaning forward, and we've got Wu up nice and straight. So significant differences there. So I give Tom a bit of an X for the knee lift, but that's something we can work on from this point forward. Number 3 is the dig, and the dig is where your leg comes back towards your body from its forwardmost point. So at the very front of your stride is not where you want it to hit the ground, because that's going to be slowing you down. And if we zoom in there, let's just have a look at Tom. See how his heel is hitting the ground way out in front of him, and his foot is at a massive angle, and his heel's driving into the ground. So we've got a 35-degree angle there. And what that causes is a high trail leg on the other side. So 68 degrees is pretty acute. So we've got 35 at the front, 68 at the back. That is extremely problematic. And a huge amount of pressure going through his front heel, not only stopping his body and slowing him down, but also exacerbating any injury and putting a lot of load through that left quad and left calf. So there's his foot right out in front of his hips and shoulders, and when you run, it's your body weight times 3, which is the amount of force. We'll just represent that with a nice square there, just to give you a better picture. So his whole foot's in front of his hip. His right foot is a little bit better, still landing out in front, but notice how it doesn't get that extreme angle on the front that the left foot had. So there it is at the front. It's not flying right. His toe's not flying right up towards the sky as it did on the other side. And as a result, his back leg angle is much more open. So 94 degrees on the left, 68 on the right. And just watch as I alternate there, 94, 68. So much steeper. So he's very unbalanced on every stride that he's taking. So let's turn our attention to the gentleman behind Tom in the red top. And I just want you to focus on the front of his stride and look how he digs his foot back from the front of the stride there. He's going to work back into the ground like he's scooping back. So he's almost curling his leg back to land directly underneath him, something that Tom is failing to do. So watch him go here. He's pulling it back. He's kind of landing to land there, or maybe a bit before that. And see how he's much straighter than Tom? That's much more efficient. So I'm going to give Tom a bit of an X on the dig as well. Plenty to work on there to improve. So next we're going to look at the strike, which is where your foot is going to strike the ground underneath your body. And I've used the same footage as I used for the dig, because if you've got a good dig, it will lead into a perfect strike. And what you want is you really want a mid-foot strike happening directly below your center of gravity, like you see the guy in the red displaying just there. Also, when you strike, you don't want your leg to change shape in any way. So you'll notice how the man in the red's leg stays in the one position from the time it hits the ground until the time it leaves the ground. Whereas Tom, who's leaning quite a way forward and has that uneven gait, he's more susceptible to bend his knees when he hits the ground. So we look at Tom and we remember he was overstriding and his chest is forward and his back leg's flying off at any old angle. So if we just watch him in action now, you'll notice that when he strikes the ground out in front of his body, his knee actually bends. See, he's got a really slight bend in it there. And that's costing him fuel and exacerbating injury as well, especially on this left leg here. Hits the ground and bowls forward slightly, boom. And each time he strides, he's got to lengthen that leg back out with the weight of 3 times his weight. Whereas the man behind him is much cleaner. See how his leg stays in the same shape throughout the whole contact with the ground and then drives up behind him. That's really nice, efficient running there. So I guess it's another X for the foot strike there for Tom. So they're starting to add up, which is good because it means we can improve a lot. One final thing with the tail whip, because I feel like we've touched on that a lot already, the trail leg. And you can just do one extra thing, and that is to draw the ball of your recovery leg through the midpoint of your shin. So you can see the man at the back in the red there, drawing his leg through very centrally to his shin that's on the ground, whereas Tom, as we've talked about a number of times already, is going through quite high. So just keep that in mind for your trail leg recovery. Thanks for watching my Run Efficiently video. As you can see, my case study, Tom, has plenty of areas to work on. I hope that video helped you understand how to run more efficiently. If I've forgotten something, feel free to leave a comment and in any form of question, and I'll do my best to answer it if I can. And feel free to like this video and forward it on to your friends. If you want to follow us, we're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.